YouTube. Welcome to Cafe Enoma and welcome to the segment that is new on Enoma, and we are starting it from today. We are going to start this segment which is called Know Your Artist or Artist Discussions, where we'll be trying to know the artists that we have already reacted to for all these years, last 4-5 years. We want to know them more. We want to know what exactly was the journey, what was their experience, how was their career curve, what were their struggles in life, what was their family life like, and things like that, so that we know what exactly was going on behind the scenes while they were making the music that we all listen to and we react to. It is, again, curiosity of mine as well as Savio's, because even Savio does not know what the artist was in the personal life. And it would be very interesting
not
to
about
know.
their personal life as such. We're not interested only in their personal life.
Family as
We
such.
want to know more about them.
More about them.
And in fact, very often in the past, whenever I liked a song, Kirti or me both, whenever we liked an artist, we liked a song of theirs, a couple of songs, the first thing we would normally do after our recording was done and once we were back on our computer, first thing I would normally do is I would go on Google or even on YouTube and I would try and find out more about that artist. Not about the music, but also about the artist. What is their background? What is their training like? What is their education like? Where are they from? Who are their influences? I would like to know more about them. Strangely, on YouTube, it's very difficult to know this about any artist.
Yeah.
So the information is scattered and so widely spread out that you really can't get a clear picture. So that's how we decided, both Kirti and I decided it's time to start a section or a new journey in our life on this platform where we focus on artists and little bit more about them, details, facts, trivia, their background. Whatever we can find out, we would like to share with ourselves first, of course, learn more about them, and also with our viewers and subscribers who've been with us from day one, and anyone new also who's coming. So hopefully we can serve it. You can also request an artist discussion video on our Patreon page. You can support us by doing so to help us pay the bills, help us create more artist discussions if you like this, for your favorite artists or artists who you want to know more about. Enough said. Today we are featuring one of the greatest artists of all time. Many achievements in a long and illustrious career. There have been breaks in her career, of course, for personal as well as other reasons. But she has certainly hit back strong twice, maybe thrice, that we know about. We are talking about Tina Turner.
Queen of rock and roll.
Who's literally been ranked number 2 on the VH1's list of greatest women in rock and roll. And she's only behind the great Aretha Franklin. So number 2, Tina Turner. Number 1, Aretha Franklin. 2 great women. Tina Turner goes one step further by being the first woman and first black woman, first black artist even, to be featured on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine. And the first artist to be featured was just a month or so before her. It was John Lennon of the Beatles. I'm assuming that is the time he probably was killed. I'm assuming. I don't remember the time. So he was the first to feature on Rolling Stone's magazine, the first edition of Rolling Stone. Then it was Tina Turner, and then the third edition featured the whole Beatles. So she was in an illustrious bunch at that time. Definitely she deserved her spot on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine. There's also a highway named after her. She's
in Tennessee.
She's, if we go back to the start, Tina Turner was born in the year 1939. So that would make her 83 years old today. November 26, 1939, in a little town called Nutbush, Tennessee. She's pretty popular back there, even though she left America. She gave up her citizenship even in 2013. And she's been in Switzerland for a long time. I think more than 3 decades that I know of, that she's been in Switzerland or some or the other part of Europe. So, but she, during her career, of course, it all started in Tennessee, whether it was in a high school. I don't know if you have the name of the high school. year, but there's a high school which she was part of the basketball team.
Yes.
She was also part of the cheerleading team, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a
Howard High
highway.
School.
There's a highway named after her in the state of Tennessee, which is called the Tina Turner Highway.
Tina Turner Highway.
So that is how big she is in Tennessee. She's of course part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So let's start with the basics, Kirti. What would you like to share about her? Anything about her? You of course done a lot of research on Tina Turner. You like Tina Turner personally as an artist a lot.
I do.
You've loved her songs. We've reacted to her 6-7 times now already. Once with Brian Adams. What are your thoughts on Tina Turner? What would you like to share in this artist discussion video?
Why the reason why I wanted to get to know the artists that we react to better, because it was always a discussion from both of us whenever we reacted to music. The artist was the focal point. It's music, but also the artist who's creating the music, what they are exactly. And we both were very, very curious about it. And you must, if you have followed us all this while, you may know that we are equally, focused on the artist, on the band, on the people who are creating the music in the circumstances that they have created the music, the kind of music that they are creating. So it's very important, integral literally, to know what exactly their journey has been like. And for Tina Turner, she could be a living inspiration for womankind, I would say, not only for musicians and female artists and celebrities, because her life has been literally ups and downs, so many ups and downs in a person's life, and still be right there on top is difficult. And this woman has seen it all, done it all. Whether she's a complete musician in all aspects, whether it is songwriting, to singing, to performing, to dancing. Private dancer, we reacted to the song as well.
The president of US at that time, George W. Bush, said she has the most famous legs in world history.
Wow.
Something like that, right? That's the quote of George W. Bush. She's also been featured in a list of the sexiest artists of all time.
Yep.
I don't think there's any doubts about that. She's probably in the top 5 on that list, if they got it right. Her original name, Kirti, we must mention that since we are discussing an artist, the original name Tina Turner is not Tina Turner.
It's not.
It's Anna Mae Bullock.
Yes. It's Anna Mae Bullock.
Yeah.
And the first song that came out, that actually came out with her real name, that was Little Anne. Yeah. After a couple of years or so, when she was officially launched, her name was given by Ike Turner, her husband, former husband.
At that time.
Yes. As Tina Turner. So she got this official name, the stage name, from him by Ike Turner. But that was much later in her career. First, the name that they used for her was Little Anne. And that is what she was known by.
Yeah, so in her initial years in the late 50s and early 60s, in that period, she was mostly a cover artist.
Yep.
She started with a cover of B.B. King. That is when she first got attention from this band at a particular place in Tennessee. That is how it all started. And then the person realized that she could also cover many other artists. So she was also hired immediately as a singer for the band, who would sing along with them in the nights, late evenings and nights.
The band that she performed the first time, that was King of Rhythm. It was
Kings of Rhythm, and that was way back in 1957. So yeah, after then, for a long time, she was more like a cover artist than anything else. People really didn't know her that well. She was a cover artist, and she was singing all these songs. And then, as time progressed, she also had a relationship. She ended up getting married to this person, Ike Turner, and they had ups and downs, lots of ups and downs. We ourselves don't know how many ups and downs in their relationship, but it eventually ended in the late 70s with a divorce and settlement as a result of the divorce. Then she kind of disappeared. After that, whatever we gathered from the research we done, she kind of disappeared. From being this up and coming artist and being already getting a lot of fame in the US and Tennessee and all those other parts of the US. After getting a lot of fame because of these marital issues, the divorce, and all that happened, she kind of disappeared. And in fact, from what we've researched, it's shocking even to find out that she actually had debts. She lived on food stamps for a long time.
Yes, yes.
She would do any kind of things, from being a private dancer to performing at all kinds of places, to just to pay the bills to get by. So it's kind of really shocking that an artist of her caliber, with the voice that she had, the persona she had, even someone like her can be down in the dumps
Land back.
just because of a bad relationship,
Yes.
an abusive relationship, a bad marriage, a bad decision, a bad time. So she went through an ugly phase where she was literally, no one knew that she even existed. I'm talking about the late 70s, the early 80s.
If you look at the chronicles of her life, literally you can call it the chronicles of her life, because it has been fascinating. While I was researching about her, it was fascinating to even realize a woman like her is alive and is kicking, and it's done so well, and what an illustrious career and journey that she has had. And it's not too many people are lucky to make it after everything that she has gone through personally. Her struggles, I had to literally note down the struggles in her life, because there was a section filled with so many things that a person, a celebrity, like Tina Turner, who we only know as Tina Turner, the artist, the singer, and that's all. Or by her stage presence, by the way she looks, by the clothes she wears, or by the sound, the way she sounds. That is all that we know of her. But the kind of background experiences of her life were quite horrific, I would say, because it's not normal to lead a life like she led. Basically, her family and her marriage both were in tatters almost all the time. Whether it was her childhood, where her mother literally ran away from their family, from their home when she was only 11 years old. She has other two sibling sisters she had, and they were also young. And when Tina Turner was literally 11 years old, the mother left the home because of, again, her father being abusive towards her mother. And then the same thing again coming back in her life as her experience as well, from her relationship, from her marital relationship with Ike Turner. So it was, these things are quite difficult and quite challenging for people, where we see their faces on screen, where people are buying their music, people are listening to the music, people are watching their concerts and shows on stage, but they do not know what exactly they are going through in their life, in their personal life, in the background, what exactly must be going on. There's an incident that I have to mention, because while doing the research, I read about it, and it was heartbreaking. She said that she had to work after her first child's birth. Literally 2 days later, her first child was named Craig, who was not even Ike Turner's, her husband then, his biological child, but it was from another band member.
The saxophonist of the band, Raymond Hill.
Yeah, Kings of Rhythm. So with him, she had this child, and then later Ike Turner, when he got married, he gave this child his name. So she said, right after 2 days of giving birth to her child, she had to get out on the stage.
Yeah, because there was this kind of weird principle.
No work, no money.
Yeah, that this guy followed, which was no work, no money. So she had to literally leave a baby at home and go on stage to perform. I mean, it was tough. It was definitely tough. And you read about this, and that's what we are all about on Enoma. We want to have that connection with these artists we have heard for so many years, whether on camera or off camera. We want to know more about them, their background, what makes them tick, what does not make them tick. So, we don't want to dwell too much on this period before 1984. 1984 was possibly the biggest year for Tina Turner. One of the biggest years, definitely, for her career, where she came out with an album called Private Dancer.
Yeah.
Now, Private Dancer had 2 or 3 different inspirations. It was written by the frontman of Dire Straits, Mark Knopfler, and he felt it was more suited to Tina Turner because it was about a female private dancer. So she ended up doing it, and the album was named after that song. The biggest song on that album, though, was what really shot Tina Turner into the spotlight in 1984. It made her win lots of Grammy Awards and other awards in the next couple of years after that album was out. The biggest song was a song which was also part of a movie, if I remember correctly, a movie that I watched long ago as a child. Mm-hmm. The song is called What's Love Got to Do With It? We have actually reacted to it. You can definitely catch that reaction after watching this artist discussion video that we have going on. So What's Love Got to Do It With is a song that was huge. I remember I was a child then. I was just 9 years old, 9 years old, and this song came out and it was being played at the Grammys. I think she performed it at the Grammys the next year. It was so big, that song, in Mumbai also. The What's Love Got to Do With It. It used to play everywhere, from our home to our uncle's home, aunt's home, everyone's home. Everywhere we went, this song would be playing. It was that big in India too. I can only imagine how big it was in America and all, where the English music industry was already well established. In India at that time, the English music industry was just making, it was just, people were just starting to listening to English music in a big way. So it wasn't established as such. But she was already big, of course, along with Michael Jackson. Almost the same year, he came out with his iconic album, Thriller. Same time, rather. Thriller. So, you had these two great artists at a point in history where no one else could touch them. Both black artists, one male, one female. She incidentally was one of the oldest artists to be on the Billboard charts.
At the age 44?
Yeah, 44, 45 at that time. So this was a huge comeback. There are different people who obviously must have played a big role in her coming back or helped her along the way. We do not know all their names, so we do not want to name just one or two and leave out the rest. So after 1984, again, it was a huge comeback for Tina Turner Kirti. Huge comeback, huge sales. I think that album sold 60 million copies worldwide, or what?
Private Dancer. Platinum.
Yeah, so 60 million plus copies worldwide after that. And that was not the end of the road for Tina Turner. There was a lot more to come.
Start, I would say.
In fact, later on in 97 or 98, in the year 1988, she was in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro. And there in a particular stadium called the Marcarena Stadium, if I got the name right or the pronunciation right, she managed to break a Guinness World Record for the maximum attendees at a single show. Which was maximum paid attendees, of course. Yeah, if you count free,
you can
a lot more.
All the time.
So 180,000 tickets sold for one show. At that time, it was a Guinness World Record. So she had a great time in the 80s, from 84 onwards. A huge comeback from literally living on food stamps, paying off her debt, paying off her bills, struggling to make ends meet, having a chaotic, possibly very, very difficult personal life. I don't even know if she had any kind of romantic life at that time. So being a private dancer at small clubs and practically performing anywhere, she got called to perform and do all kinds of moves. In fact, the song Private Dancer suits her to the T, that period of her life. So there was a lot happening in those years, Kirti, and then it was big, of course, with these big concerts, big tours, world tours, going all over the place, traveling the world.
It was Break Every Rule.
The Break Every World Rule tour.
Yeah.
That was one of those tours. Then, surprisingly for me, there's not much about it. But I must pose the question to you guys who possibly know Tina Turner a lot more than we do, whoever's coming to watch this artist discussion video on Enoma. Again, it seemed like in the early 90s she vanished into thin air. I don't know what was the reason. There was a movie made about her at that time. I remember there was a movie. I didn't watch the movie, but there were big stars in that movie. Lawrence Fishburne played Ike Turner. There was Angela Bassett, if I remember, playing her. So they were both nominated, if I'm not mistaken, for Academy Awards. I don't know if they won.
For the performance? No, they were just nominated.
Yeah, so there was a big movie, but then at the same time, around about the same time, if I remember correctly, there's not too much information about it on Google or YouTube, sadly. But she just seemed to vanish into thin air. Then once, I think after a few years of that, in the late 90s, personally, Sometimes something was covered about her in the Times of India, one of our major newspapers which we used to get at home in those days. I remember she happened to be in Switzerland. And she was settled down in Switzerland, that article said, and she was living there for many years. That's when I realized that she left America and she was in Switzerland. And there was not much else given about it. That in fact, that article was about something else altogether. She just happened to be mentioned in that article. So that's when I realized she's not even in America. She's left America. She's in another country. She's in Switzerland. I don't know where she was staying, who she was with, staying with. So and there's not much information about that period of her life. Then suddenly in 2008, Kirti, what happened? She came back with a bang. Another big bang tour. Another world tour announced.
Okay.
She must have been 65 at that time, 65, 1939 to 2008.
Yeah.
How much is that? 68, 69? How old was she?
From 39
1939
to 2008. Yeah,
61
it is 68,
plus
60,
8.
yeah,
69.
68,
So at the
69.
age of 68, 69, she came back with a bang on the world tour. Again, tickets sold out to most venues within possibly hours. And she, at that age, she was rocking the stage like no other. Hence, she is rightly called the queen of rock and roll. There's no one else like her. I do know that there are many other artists who are also called big things. But I don't think there's anyone like her in the
They
whole
live that,
music
yeah.
industry who performed, who danced, who went through such turmoil in their personal life and came back with a bang again and again, breaking world records, concert ticket records, all kinds of records, being a single black woman or a black woman going through a lot of turmoil with a huge album in 1984, then marrying the executive. I think that's who she was married to, possibly still married to. I'm not really sure about everything right now. As I said, it's all very sketchy when it comes to many musicians, especially musicians of this level. And especially those who have vanished a couple of times and no one really knows what's happened to them.
Yeah.
So she came back in 2008, world tour and all that. Then in 2012, tragedy struck. 2012, 2013, sometime. Again, we don't know the exact dates. But we've got our research from Wikipedia and a whole lot of other sources, magazine articles, BBC, newspapers of all kinds. We're not really
source,
sure,
yeah.
not one singular source which gives us, okay, this is what it is, and this is the facts, and this is where we got it from. So it's mainly Wikipedia, but there's so many other sources we've got this information from. So around about 2012, 2013, she had a stroke. What kind of stroke, it's not mentioned.
Currently she has many other health issues after her kidney transplant, which thankfully in 2017, her current husband, offered to donate one of his kidneys to her, and so blessed she is to have a partner like that now in her life, that she's still made it after that.
Someone who literally gave her a kidney.
Gave his
It's a big thing to give a kidney, donate a kidney to someone.
Yeah, and that too in your during your second marriage. So
yeah, in such an old age, he must be also pretty old to take that risk at that age.
I'm not too sure about him.
As a senior resident, I'm sure he must be a senior citizen.
Yeah.
So just 4-5 years ago we are talking about.
Life is not all about the miseries and struggles. It's also about good things that can happen.
Yeah, so the stroke happened before we continue in anything, talking about some of her best songs and something.
Yeah.
The stroke happened in 2012, 2013. It was difficult for her to even walk after that. So for a long time, and I know how it feels because my mother went through a similar stroke when she was alive in 1984 actually. So coincidentally, so my mother had a stroke, and after that it took months and years for her to even start walking properly again. In fact, till the day she died in 2013, she couldn't walk.
Not properly.
Yeah, she couldn't really walk properly. So that is how strokes can affect you. So Tina Turner, once again, the resilient woman and person that she was, she fought back. She managed to again walk, and all this. Once again, she's someone, for some reason, with all the achievements she's had and these major records, selling over 100 million copies worldwide, and one of the biggest selling artists of all time. Amazingly, there's very little information which actually talks about all these achievements.
True.
And that is quite shocking to me. I don't know whether it is about her being black or her being a woman. What are the parameters that the music industry and the media overall goes by? I don't know. But there's definitely something fishy somewhere. What's fishy? I have no idea. All my research, the hours and hours of research, since this is one of the first videos we are doing, we are definitely rough. We're not that good, but we definitely want to do this as long as we are around, possibly, because there's so many artists and there's so much information. So there was this period 2013 2014 where she had these medical problems starting in her life. Then she had intestinal cancer. She was diagnosed with in 2016 or 17. After that, this kidney transplant happened. But then even after that, she came back strong. There was this movie about her last year called Tina, if I'm not mistaken, 2021 movie. Another movie about her life, kind of an autobiographical or a biographical movie. She didn't have any role to play in it, but in fact, she didn't even make any appearances which were related to the movie premiere or anything where this movie was nominated or presented. So there was this book that was there called Happiness Becomes You, a guide to changing your life for good. And the editors at Amazon in the year 2020 called it the best non-fiction book of the year. So they rated it as the best non-fiction book of the year in 2020. So she came back with this book. She co-authored it with an American author and a Swiss singer.
There were two other,
So there were two other authors. She was not the only one. And it's basically a guide. I'm assuming a Buddhist teaching, a Buddhist principles also are a major part of the book. I'm hoping to read that book very soon or get a copy of it and go through it, whether it's an audiobook or the book. She has musically, of course, that's her main forte. She has won over 12 Grammy Awards. She's won plenty of other awards, Lifetime Achievements Award, Hall of Fame. She's got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Yeah,
She's also got a star somewhere else.
St. Louis.
In St. Louis. So, she's had an illustrious career and an illustrious life, which we don't know too much about. Only things. So it's an interesting career of a musician. To be one of the biggest selling artists of all time, as far as albums go, as well as concert tickets, it's a huge achievement because you have people who usually have only one.
Yeah.
But here you have someone who's also a great performer and also a great singer in the recording studio. So you have a great selling artist as well as a great performing artist. You can only think of Michael Jackson, who comes in the same league, who was also a singer, great singer and a great performer. Unfortunately, Tina Turner never made her way to India for a concert. Michael Jackson did, but Tina Turner didn't for whatever reason. So we didn't get the opportunity to actually go and see her perform live. Whether it's just George Bush's favorite legs in the world, or whether it's just to see her perform, we didn't get an opportunity. But on YouTube, you have plenty and plenty and plenty of live performances of her from different places. It's all over the place, from last performances that people know about till way back in the 60s, there are performances of her on YouTube. So what a great platform to have all this that you can actually go through and learn more about an artist, especially if you're if you're influenced by her music and her life and inspired by her. You have so much to go by as far as her career goes. A musical genius on stage and in the recording studio. You have a lot on this platform alone. But about herself, how she got into Buddhism, her influences, how she got to writing these best-selling books. Third book, this is the one that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
How she got about writing these best-selling books, these chart-topping songs for other singers, also other people. There are many people who have been influenced by her, and we must mention that. In fact, there's one big person, so-called big artist, who didn't even give her credit.
Oh, Mick
And she
Jagger.
mentioned it in her biography very cheekily.
Yeah, she
I'm
did
told,
that.
where Mick Jagger learned a particular dance called
The
pony dance or the pony step
footwork, yeah.
from Tina Turner and some other
Her team, basically.
performers.
Yeah.
And after that, he started doing it all the time.
It's a
And
trademark.
people call it Move Like Jagger.
Yeah, move
When
like
actually
Jagger.
Maroon 5 in fact made a song, Moves Like Jagger.
Yeah.
When that Jagger move is actually the Tina Turner move. So that is how much, injustice has been done in a way with Tina Turner. This is just a small thing I'm saying. What Mick Jagger did isn't a big thing. It happens all the time that you get influenced by someone, you learn something from someone, and then you inculcate it into your talent, your art form. So that's not a big deal. But the fact that he did not give credit like so many others who've been influenced by her, whether it's David Bowie or Mick Jagger or Mark Knopfler or so many bands and artists, so many, she's been one of the foremost black artists and female artists of all time. I'm sure there must be so many black women who admired her, especially in the 80s and 90s, who wanted to be like her, perform like her, sing like her, move like her, move like Turner, not move like Jagger.
Move like Turner, definitely.
So there's so many things that we want to mention. In fact, we have so much information about her career, but that's not what we want to do in this video, because you can get that information anywhere. We want to discuss artists. We want to analyze things as counselors, as therapists, as life coaches, as teachers even. We want to learn some lessons from their life. Where did they go wrong? What made them tick? And definitely, I must say, Tina Turner is definitely one of the most resilient artists ever. Yes. When you read all this and when you see her comebacks or sellout crowds or world records or Hall of Fame. In fact, she was twice in the Hall of Fame. For the first time, I think it was just to stir a controversy. She was put along with Ike Turner. Yeah. But the second time, she got it on her own, completely on her own. So yeah, that's the right way to do it, because she definitely did all this. Most of her career, which she did, was purely on her own performance and resilience and determination and discipline. So there's a lot to learn from her life. She's been featured in movies. Right?
Yes.
A couple of movies or so. She's had a cameo appearance in an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, if I remember correctly, which was that movie, The Last Action Hero, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, something like that.
And of course, she was with Mel Gibson in Mad Max.
Yes.
One of the Mad Max franchise movies.
Thunderdome.
Beyond Thunderdome in 1985. Yeah. So she's come in a couple of movies. There have been movies made about her. Yeah. I think 3 or 4 movies so far made about her. Yeah. Her life, which have been nominated for various awards and featured at film festivals, etc. Now, which are our favorite songs, Kirti? Of course, as reactors, we've done a lot of reactions, half a dozen or more of Tina Turner, but there's a long way to go.
There is a whole
list. And, we must keep our list ready because we've not heard these songs. So, some of our greatest hits, as per some of the sources we researched, are Better Be Good to Me, a song we never heard, Kirti.
Yes.
Private Dancer, which we reacted to, and it will possibly be online around about the same time as this video or soon before or after. Typical Male, interesting title for a song, Kirti.
Typical Male, yes.
Then this big hit of hers, a biggest hit of all time, biggest comeback hit from our album, Private Dancer. What's Love Got to Do with It? Yes. Then we have some other songs if you want to read
We Don't Need Another Hero. It was also
This was from Mad Max.
Yes. It featured later. First it was created and then it came in.
Oh, so I got it wrong earlier. I must correct myself. I said What's Love Got to Do with It was in Mad Max. It's actually We Don't Need Another Hero, which was a huge hit, which was in Mad Max. Right. So What's Love Got to Do with It was featured in another movie.
In her own movie, in her biopic that was made. Partial
but it was a biggest hit, I thought.
It is. I think it is.
But I stand corrected. It's not in Mad Max. It's in another movie.
It's the same title.
The Mad Max song was We Don't Need Another Hero, and I remember that song. I think we reacted to it too.
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah.
Then Don't Wanna Fight, another song we just reacted to.
Amazing
it will be
song.
Online around about the same time.
Golden
Eye, which we reacted to. I Can't Stop Loving You, I'm not sure.
I think we did. I Can't Stop
Make Him Wait, not heard.
Not heard.
Betcha, Can't Kiss Me, not heard. So a lot of greatest hits. So Fine, A Fool in Love, If I Can't Be the First. I'm sure we missed out a few. Beauty is Just Skin Deep, another sounds like a very thought-provoking song. Yeah. Cousin, Crying and Carrying On. Cursing, Crying and Carrying On. Yeah. You're So Fine, Nothing Can Do Now. A lot of songs, a lot of
Yeah.
big hits. I Smell Trouble, Here's the Hearth, If Show Ain't Me, We Need an Understanding, Shake a Tall Feather, Rock Me Baby, Please Love Me, Crazy About Your Baby, Better Go to Stepping or Steeping, Too Hot to Hold. Lots of songs to listen to, Kirti. I think more than a dozen or 2 dozen maybe
Yeah.
songs that we can listen to, which are our biggest hits.
Which are big.
And I'm sure there's one song which is strangely not mentioned in this list. In fact, I would say it's one of our top 3 songs. Nut Bush City Limits. It's one of our earliest songs. It was a big hit initially, not as big as the later hits because that time she was not that well known or not famous even outside of Tennessee. So one of our earliest big hits was Nut Bush City Limits, and I absolutely loved that song. We reacted to it. I loved it. Wow.
She wrote it.
Beautiful
She
song.
also wrote the
So
song.
she, lot of songwriting, lot of singing. She's written a lot of great songs. This song, amazingly, Nutbush City Limits, I would rate it in the top 3 of her songs, and one of my favorite songs of all time in the top 100. And yet, it is not featured in this list of her listeners. So it's amazing that maybe that she didn't want that part of her career to be featured, or maybe the rights for that album or song was held by her ex-husband. Who knows?
Could be, yeah.
So that may be the reason it's not here. She incidentally sold the rights to most of her music to a record label for a huge sum, more than $50 million. We don't know the exact figure, but a huge sum in excess of $50 million as per the BBC. So I remember that line.
I don't like artists selling all the rights to a record label because
but I think she's retired. She's old, she's retired.
she's still alive.
I don't think she wants to really come back. I don't think there's a possibility of a comeback now. At 85, 84, 85
83,
right now. I don't think she's going to come back with cancer and all that. I mean, that would be miraculous. If there's even a comeback show of some kind for even half an hour,
I doubt it.
I think the whole world will watch it. It will possibly be the most watched show in the history of television, or if it's televised, that is. But that would be in a wheelchair, or it will be without her performing and dancing and showing a wonderful persona and figure. So I don't think it will be possible, or it will be the same thing. But so I think she's done. So I think it's the right thing to do. Give the rights to someone else. Possibly they can do better with it, and keep her music alive. That's the main thing at the end of the day.
Wow, so many things that you mentioned about her, it automatically makes people to listen to more of Tina Turner. Because you forge a connection with the artist that you're listening to after knowing so much about the artist. And especially me, I personally connect with her. The way her career has been, the way her life has been, the way her humble start has been. Because so many times we listen to artists or we get to know artists only because they were from a very successful family. They were already from a very successful background. But here that was not the case. There was no silver spoon or, bed of roses already serving her or helping her. So everything had to be done. Literally each step after step had to be a struggle, had to be hardship, had to be everything that a common person sees, she has seen, in spite of being an artist, in spite of being an iconic, legendary personality, celebrity. So her life, her career, her graph, everything resonates with me as a person, not those artists that are already, got it all easy. The media houses working for them, PR teams working for them, and things like that. Here, there was real struggle behind the scenes. Not easy. Definitely not easy for her.
Yeah, so this Nutbush City Limits was in 1973, and she in fact wrote it, as you said.
Initial days.
So it's great.
She's also...
In 1993, the movie itself was titled What's Love Got to Do with It?
Yes.
The one that we mentioned earlier with Angela Bassett and Lawrence Fishburne in the lead roles.
Yes.
It does mention the film starred Angela Bassett and Lawrence Fishburne.
And nominated for Oscar.
Both of them nominated for Best Actor and Actress in the following year's Academy Awards. They did not win, but they were nominated. It's interesting to note that Buddhism has a major role to play. In fact, whatever social media research that I did just last night about her, it mostly is about her Buddhism. I think Buddhism has been a major factor in her life, which has possibly helped in her turnaround and her comeback.
Yes.
So I think she's a devout Buddhist, and possibly the most famous Buddhist alive right now.
Okay.
So I think that
Dalai
has a
Lama.
definite, and unfortunately again, she in fact even has a very big Buddhist shrine or chapel inside her home in Switzerland,
Oh, wow.
which has been seen in certain pictures on which people have come across. So yeah, I mean she's definitely a devout Buddhist, and I think it has a major role to play in her comeback. It's not mentioned anywhere, but I will stick my neck out and say that Buddhism or religion has had a major role to play in her fighting back these adversities and coming back strong, selling albums, over 100 million albums worldwide, and selling tickets worldwide, millions of tickets. It's no joke. To do that kind, it's amazing, absolutely amazing for anyone.
Being peaceful inside and keeping yourself completely aligned at all times, emotionally, physically, it's very important that you're doing meditation on a regular basis. And I think she started at a very early stage. Somewhere I read it was in 75 or something like that, where she was introduced to the chantings, Buddhist chantings, and since then she has been regular practitioner of the meditation and the chanting of mantras. And maybe that could be one of the reasons for her fighting back every time whenever she was down and pressed against the wall.
Yeah, these discussion videos have no format, no set formula, set structure, because we are learning about these artists ourselves. So if you like what we are doing, this impromptu kind of research, kind of speech and discussion with questions, with answers, with researching right now live if we can. If you like whatever we are doing and you want to support us, definitely visit our Patreon page and request an artist discussion video or a reaction video if you want to request a reaction, because that is what obviously we are known for on this platform, and we have so many subscribers on this channel for. So please support us. We need your help. We want to do as many as possible. I must also mention before we end that one of the biggest cover songs, since she was a cover artist to begin with for the first 20 years or so of her career, one of her biggest cover songs which we've not mentioned at all and we must mention before we end this video, and here comes the haphazard structure of these videos, unscripted and impromptu way of speaking, is Let's Stay Together by Al Green. The cover of that is what propelled her into the limelight in the music industry, especially the R&B music industry. So a lot of people got to know about Tina Turner who earlier may have not paid attention or taken much notice. They suddenly got to know when this big cover came out of hers, Let's Stay Together of Al Green. That really propelled her into the limelight, and I think after that it just went up, up, up and up. So that's it for this one. Anything else you would like to mention in winding up? So a lot of cover songs, a lot of big hits, a lot of huge performances from Rio de Janeiro to, of course, America and many other parts of Europe, sell-out stadiums in Europe, in fact, also wherever she performed. So she's a legend. She's a living legend. She's a legend, and she'll always be remembered.
She turned everything gold. Whatever she touched, she turned it to gold. Another cover that was very popular before this popularity was in 71. I read it. It was CCR song Proud Mary.
Ah, yeah. And we have heard it, yeah. Proud Mary of Creedence Clearwater Revival, which was covered by her. Yeah.
So amazing to know Tina Turner as a person here. Thank you for being here all. If you've made it so far, hope to see you again in other videos as well.
And also for all those cover singers and artists on YouTube and elsewhere, there's hope.
There's hope. Of course, there's hope.
Tina Turner, a living legend, one of the greatest artists of all time and the highest selling artist possibly of all time as a female artist. Yeah. She's probably the highest selling artist, whether ticket sales and album sales, if you look at both, of course. So, yeah, I mean, she started as a cover singer.
Never be discouraged.
Sang a BB King song that made her popular with the band. Yeah. They gave her a job. The rest is history. She performed, sang covers, made those covers more popular than they were possibly when she covered them. Yeah. So great. From Creedence Clearwater Revival to Al Green to BB King to I'm sure many others who we are yet to know about. She possibly has sung hundreds of covers, which we have no clue about, but I'm sure she did it. So as a private dancer, private performer, especially after a divorce. So there's a lot we don't know about this particular legend. So that's it for this one. Thank you for being with us. Thanks so much for your support and love. Definitely, we need your blessings. We need your support in this new journey. And what a great legend to start with. 26 November 1939 was the day she came into this world. And we are starting this journey on YouTube round about the same time. So we have, hopefully, the blessings of this artist if she ever chances upon this discussion video, and her fans, and hopefully we have your blessings and support too. That's it.